Okay, figured after reading a bunch of the post-mortem stuff about the Twins, uh, playoff embarrassment and failure, um, I figured I'd do a video kind of about, where do they go from here? What do they do? I mean, prefacing with it all, prefacing all of it, I think they're cursed. I don't think roster moves matter. I really don't. Like, because the team that just flopped the last 2 years is it's a completely different roster from the team that was flopping in the mid 2000s. Um, but so going forward into the off season though, the big thing is they're going to have to shed a lot of payroll because they didn't make any money this year. I mean, every team's making a little bit of money from the TV, the extra TV um, stuff with the extra playoff games and everything, but there's still that no fans, obviously drastically reduced schedule. Everything's pointing towards they're gonna have to shed a lot of payroll. They have some free agents coming up. I mean, some of them are just gone. Like Marwin Gonzalez, see ya. Alex Avila, see ya. Um, Trevor May, I think, see ya. Sergio Romo, see ya. Like these guys can go, and it's not. It's like you're not really missing out on a whole lot. I mean, we'll miss Sergio Romo's beard, but come on, he's an okay guy, but he's replaceable as a pitcher. And the one thing they did do very well, seemingly this year, is kind of find guys for the bullpen. So you figure they can do that again. Um, but then there's also Eddie Rosario. He's not a free agent, but you can just get rid of him. You can just not tend. He's got like a year of arbitration left. You can just not give him that and just let him go and be a free agent. That makes all the sense in the world because you got all these other outfield prospects coming up. We saw a couple of them this year. You got guys ready. Like you don't need to keep Eddie Rosario, who's not even at his peak anymore. So there's no reason at all to keep him. Um, you know, you got a couple of your starting pitchers that are free agents, Odorizzi and Hill. I mean, you could bring either one of them back. You could certainly bring Odorizzi back. Um, you're gonna have, you got your starting rotation for next year. You got Maeda, Barrios, Pineda, maybe Dobnak if you want to give it another go with him. But the way he regressed, like that's maybe was a little bit of fool's gold. You don't want to lock him into one of your rotation spots. So you know you could certainly bring one of those guys back, or even both. I mean, I think so many teams are going to be really stingy with their money this offseason that you can probably get one or both of those guys back on the cheap because you're going to have somebody. I mean, I don't think they really have any um, guys in the minors who they feel ready to step right in. Um, and then the big one for free agents is Cruz. And he's gone. He's going to have to be gone. It's not because you don't like him. It's not because you think that he's going to fall off the cliff, although that is going to happen at some point, and he was kind of bad towards the end of the season, although he got the only RBIs in the playoffs, so, but that's more of just like everyone else was so bad, you know. But I think Cruz is gone, and I think he's going to have to be gone because you got 3 more years of highly paid Josh Donaldson, and you're going to have to DH his ass because you cannot play him in the field because, you know, you can't count on him to be your starting third baseman because he's just going to keep getting hurt, and he is. And I know this was just this year, a lot of bad injury stuff all over the place, but he's got an injury history too with the calf. He's not going to just magically not have an injured calf for the next 3 years if you play him in the field. It's not going to happen. It's not realistic at all. And look, you got to play him. You're not going to get the value on that contract by playing him, half your games at third base and then the other half he's on the injured list. But if you get him in there at DH, He's a professional. He's not going to slack off. He'll hit for you. He'll hit for you, and you can get some value out of that. And maybe once in a while you can stick him over there at third base. But yeah, you're gonna have to do that with Donaldson at DH, and there's nowhere else you can play Cruz. So I mean, you got to say goodbye to Cruz. I mean, he'll have options. They're gonna have DH in the NL now probably, so he's gonna have options to go somewhere. So it's gonna suck to say goodbye to Cruz, but I don't really think you have much of a choice. That might not be it for payroll, though. If you want to cut payroll, I would trade Max Kepler in a heartbeat if you can get a good deal for him, because he's kind of just an ordinary guy. He can hit home runs sometimes, but I mean, we saw it this year, whether it was they de-juiced the ball or it was just the lack of spring training and everything. Like, he wasn't very good at all. Like, some of these guys, all they do is hit home runs. Really, they're not good on base guys. Kepler's all right in the field. You can stick him in center when Buxton is inevitably hurt. But I mean, you gotta do better than what he's done, and he's been probably the worst on the team in the playoffs the last 2 years. He's not really expensive. I think some team would certainly still want him. You could probably get a decent trade back for him. So I would trade him. And you stick another one of the prospects in there. If you get rid of Rosario and Kepler, boom, you can put in Rooker and Kirilloff, or maybe Larnack if he's ready. Like, you got your options right there. You're fine at outfield. It's not like you got to go sign somebody else in their place. You would have to do something probably at third base if you switch Donaldson to being a DH. So I don't know I don't think Arias can play third. I don't know Royce Lewis is down in the minors. It's kind of unclear about what position he's for sure going to play. I don't know. But, if you do the Donaldson move, you will then have to, you'll have to have some sort of replacement at third base, because you probably don't have the in-house guy. And then, where was I going next? I already forgot. Talking too much about Donaldson. Oh yeah, the trade guys. Again, you don't really have necessarily the replacements ready. I would at least consider trading Polanco, because he had a terrible fucking season. I mean, he was just awful, and then he of course screwed up in the field in the playoffs. But he's still decent. Like, you still get value out of having a decent hitter. And again, he could have a bounce back year with a regular kind of off season. But so I'm not like rushing to trade him. Sano, I would trade him if you could, but I don't think you're going to get anything for him at this point. I think his value is going to be so low at this point, coming off he was good for a little bit this year, but man, was he bad in September. Oh my God, he was awful. And whatever, he's just never not going to be a guy who strikes out 50% of the time. And if you're not mashing, and he didn't mash, he really didn't. And I don't know what happened to him, man. When he came up in 2015, it was amazing. He was like taking such great at bats, and he was really making the pitchers work, and then he was mashing, and I was like, oh my God, this guy's going to be Miguel Cabrera. He ain't Miguel Cabrera. He's not good. He's like, he's never, I don't think, going to be anything more than just a mediocre first baseman in the field. So, you could stick him at DH too, but again, you're going to have to play Donaldson at DH. You just are. But Sano, maybe with the universal DH, you'll have more teams out there that would maybe be willing to trade you something for the guy so that he can be their DH. I doubt it. I think it's going to be one of these things where his value in-house is probably just bigger than his value outside. and you're just gonna probably have to stick with him for another year and hope to God that he at least mashes. Maybe you can even trade him middle of next year if something works out. Um, Arise, he'll be locked in. He'll be in your infield, and he's very affordable because he's still on his rookie kind of deals. Catcher, Avila's gone. You don't need him because now you got Garver and Garver sucked this year, but maybe he bounces back a little next year, and even if he doesn't, I mean he's fine for a backup catcher. And then you got Jeffers who looked pretty solid. Looked like he can certainly uh, be your defensive, a solid defensive catcher. So you're set there, and you know, um, but yeah, I would really look to kind of blow this thing up a little bit. Maybe not blow it up completely, but you know, say you're starting nine, like I could see easily half of that starting nine changing for next year. Because I mean, this core, the Kepler, Sano, Rosario, Buxton, like we've seen it. They can't do it. They can't do it. Now, again, I don't think anybody can do it because I think the franchise is just fucking cursed to be a loser franchise forever. But you might as well try with some new guys. You got these prospects. You've apparently drafted guys who are really developing, so use them, and trade the guys you can. Maybe replenish the farm system again. But I mean, it's just this whole Bomba Squad thing has to go. The Bomba Squad's a failure. You got to just admit that it's a failure. This whole philosophy they've had the last 2 years, let's just hit home runs all the time and do nothing else, it's a failure. It wasn't even good in the regular season for this year. It bit them in the ass twice in the playoffs. You saw it in games last year and this. Late in games, they're pressing to hit home runs every time, and they're not producing good at bats. They're not advancing runners. They're not putting pressure on the pitcher. They're always like hitting in a defensive position because they're like, oh, we got to do this now. No, you don't. Just get a base hit, get a double, take a walk, put some pressure on the pitcher in these close games. And that's why these playoff games is like they were never on the scoreboard out of these games, but they were out of these games because the lineup was just awful. And I don't think you have to do nearly as much to kind of replenish the starting pitcher. Already I'm saying, we got to go sign Trevor Bauer, or we got to go sign some big starting pitcher. Well, I mean, you can. I mean, it's never a bad thing to go sign another really good starting pitcher, but you don't need it because like they had the pitching this year that they could have gone on a run, and we saw it. Like they were pretty good when Rocco allowed them to pitch, yanking them after 5 innings. If you're going to yank everybody after 5 innings just because the fucking analytics tell you to do it, well, then I don't know what the hell you're going to do. But I'm never going to not be just apoplectic about yanking Barrios when he's pitching the game of his life, basically, after 70 some pitches and putting in Cody Stashak. I will never understand that as long as I live. But I mean, this team, what the team needs, if you believe that moves can break the curse, and I think it's an organizational mentality that they're always too small for the moment of the playoffs. But if you believe that moves could be made, they got to be made on the offensive side of the ball, because I don't know if you could change the mentality of the core you already got that, hey, let's not just swing with maximum force on every pitch to try to hit a ball over a fence. I think you got to mix it up. You got, like, I can't believe I'm going to say something complimentary about the Yankees, but I am. Like, yeah, the Yankees hit a whole bunch of home runs, and it's irritating. But they also will get the double, they'll get the single, they'll take the walks, they'll do the other things. The Twins don't do that, and they didn't do it last year. Even when they were good last year, they weren't doing that. It was just they were hitting home runs at a record rate, and they weren't hitting, This year they were not hitting home runs anywhere close to that rate, and we saw how bad their all lineup was for much of the season. So I don't know if you can just change the mentality of these guys who have been here for a few years and kind of come up thinking like, oh, we got to just hit home runs all the time. Hopefully, the next wave, the Kirilloff and Rooker and Royce Lewis and Larnack and these guys, and the little bit we saw of these guys, looks like they maybe don't have the same philosophy. Maybe it isn't a thing where they're, under the Baldelli regime, they're just telling all these minor leaguers, hey, we just want you to hit home runs. We just want you to hit the ball 450 feet as much as you can. Don't ever do anything else. So hopefully, we just saw a little bit of these guys this year, but hopefully these guys are not that type of hitter, because we don't need those type of hitters. Like, we got to find some middle ground here. We used to have the piranhas who never could hit home runs, but they could sometimes scrap out a base hit. We got to find one side you got Nick Punto, and the other side you got Miguel Sano. Can we find like the middle ground and get a bunch of those guys? That's the hope. And I don't know if these guys will be, but I know, like, no Twins fan can possibly think at this point that the core they got now, the Kepler, Rosario, Sano, Buxton, and I shouldn't even put Buxton in there because he's he can actually do some of the other things, but when he's actually healthy, and even Cruz and Donaldson, like, they get it because they haven't played their whole careers here. They get it. But you got to find the middle ground, because you can't live and die on the home run, because we've seen it. Like, no team has ever just, okay, I'm just going to hit home runs score every run on a home run, and I'm going to win a World Series. It doesn't happen. So, all right, I think I've kind of covered it all at this point. Again, I don't think any moves work because I think they're cursed, and I think they always will be cursed. But I think they'll, just as an observer more than a fan now, I would be curious to see how they approach this off season, because I think they do need to kind of blow it up a little bit, because let's say they kind of just run it all back next year. Let's say they even keep Rosario, and you just kind of run it back with the same lineup, and you'll probably win some games. They'll be good in the regular season, but it's just going to be the same shit in the playoffs. And it might be the same shit if you go into the playoffs next year and your lineup has Kirilloff and Rooker and Lewis and all these other guys. But so yeah, I think so hopefully they'll do something to change it up a little bit. But I think they're cursed. I think they'll always be cursed. But we'll see. All right, video ends now.